When we have that clarity perspective, when we know the next step, that's what we're touching in on. That's the path that we're walking, the path of remembering why we're here. Hello and welcome back to Remember Why You're Here, a podcast for seekers and sensitives where you can relax, receive, reconnect to yourself, and remember the most important thing of all, why you're here. I'm Asia Suler, author, earth intuitive, teacher, and this is our reading for the month of August 2025. The themes that came up for me this month are themes of accessing clarity around purpose, clearing away what's been distracting you from taking the next step, having the support to take that next step with a kind of clarity, and remembering what's real. So let's drop into the energies that are coming in for us in this month ahead. This month's card comes from the Herbal Astrology Oracle by Ariana Jales with artwork by Josephine Clerks. And the card that I picked was Rosemary. Rosemary is a plant I have a deep relationship. It's one that has deep roots in our history, deep historical roots, deep recorded roots, and deep roots in our memory, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. Rosemary has been used, we know for sure, for thousands of years. It's even appeared in tombs in ancient Egypt. We know that rosemary originated in the Mediterranean. It was a deep part of Roman and Greek medicine. Rosemary, we've seen throughout European history as being a really important herb, especially an herb for memory and remembering. There's an old saying about rosemary that, is one of those things that have been passed down through the generations of rosemary for remembrance. So rosemary was often used in weddings as well as in funerals, these moments where, memory, remembrance, and sort of, committing oneself to vision and to memory was important. In herbal medicine, we often use rosemary for foggy thinking, forgetfulness, scatteredness, depression, especially when it's stagnant depression. Rosemary really has the ability to awaken and enliven the mind and help us focus, help us access more clarity. In ancient Greece, they would weave laurels, crowns of rosemary for their head and put them on their head before they took their exams. This is a classic herb for stimulating the mind, for helping one to focus, for opening one's awareness. It really shines when it comes to sort of releasing stagnancy in our minds, stagnancy in our body. Rosemary is a circulatory stimulant. It's also an anti-inflammatory. This is one of the reasons why it's so good for headaches, why we do like to use it for stagnant headaches. You can even apply some of the diluted essential oil right to your temples, or just breathing in rosemary can be really helpful with that. It's moving, it's stimulating, but at the same time, it's got this settling energy. So it has this beautiful combination of energies. Rosemary has also been considered a protective herb for a long time. In the Renaissance, people would put rosemary under their pillows to protect themselves from bad dreams. And we know that rosemary not only is an antioxidant, but is also antibacterial, antiviral. Rosemary was used to preserve foods and is still used to preserve food for a long time. It has this high preservative value to it. We also add it to our foods because rosemary is such a wonderful digestive. It really stimulates our digestive juices. So rosemary has this profile of being protective, clarifying for the mind, opening for the senses, sort of releasing stagnation. And all of this is rolling into our reading for the month ahead. So in the Herbal Astrology Oracle, rosemary is called Ancient Memory. And the description for this card specifically talks about rosemary as something that connects us to ancient memory, remembrance, sort of multi-dimensional sight, recollection, commitment to one's vision, and, really this loyalty, right, to the visions that we have in our life, to the things that we're drawn towards. In the herbal astrology oracle, they talk about how rosemary is also connected with the sun and Mercury, bringing in that astrology piece. The sun as this symbol of our core identity, our life force in this lifetime, our ego, and Mercury as this planet of thinking, the mind, communication. And so in the oracle, they talk about rosemary as a plant that really helps us to connect our minds and our bodies in this lifetimes with our higher minds, with our higher self, this ability to link in with one's higher self and really have, sort of this powerful vision, this multidimensional sight, and the ability to be present in life without dissociation, and to make this commitment to the vision that moves you, the vision that is coming in from your higher self. And I loved that description going along with, what I know of and what I've experienced with rosemary. And when I sat down and I asked my guides, what is the vision for this collective? What is the vision for you? Like you who are listening to this, what is coming in for us this month? I got a really clear visual. I got a very clear message, which is not surprising because we are working with rosemary here. So let's talk about what is coming in. One of the biggest themes that was handed to me for this month ahead is remembering what's real. And this is super important at this time, especially in this time when the outer world, and with all of its drama and with all of its trauma, is getting louder and louder as we move into an era where very literally we don't know what's real. With the rise of AI, this difficulty discerning, this message of remembering what's real feels so essential and so valid. And I'm hoping it's a touchstone for you as we move into this month, especially as, energies get bigger, as that outer world may get louder. Remembering what's real means remembering what is at the bedrock of reality. Like, what is real in the spiritual sense of the word? What is real on a soul level? And what is real is unconditional love, is forgiveness, is connection and oneness. That is what's real. That is ultimate reality. What's real is that we come here as spiritual souls to have this really human experience. And part of the human experience is variance, is grades, is shades, is textures. And so this isn't to discount the reality of things that are happening in the world, but when we can anchor in what's real underneath all of it, we have the strength and the clarity to meet what's happening in our day-to-day lives. So for me, remembering what's real, it's not a form of spiritual bypassing of, well, I'm just going to ground in love and light, and all of this is, not real. All of this is just a moment in time that my soul has come here to experience. Like, that's not quite it either, right? Because we came here to experience this, to be in this experience, to be a part of this huge experiment. And to discount that, to not be present for that, right, is not the purpose of it. But when we reground and connect to what is real, we have access to our own soul life force and energy. We have energy to meet what is happening in the world, what is happening inside of our lives, the things that need to be moved and transformed. So remembering here, at the heart of all things, no matter how hard they seem, how dissonant the world is love, is compassion, is non-judgment, is forgiveness, is oneness. That's what's real. That's at the heart of all things. And the invitation here for this month is to really ground in that, to ground in what is real, because it is really going to see you through whatever is to come. And there are some really clear potentials for this month to come, really clear, exciting things that are on offer. And the biggest one here is the ability to access a clarity of mind and purpose. This is so much of what rosemary is about, right? This clarity of mind. And what came in for me for this month is this feeling of clearing away what's been distracting you. And there's no judgment here, right? Because the human brain likes distractions, and we live in a world that is absolutely full of them, like chock full everywhere you look. So it makes sense, right? It makes sense that we sometimes get lost in distractions or we have them come in. But there's this sense this month of like, there's this ability to clear away those distractions and get this like clear sight forward, this clear path forward, this clarity of mind. When we have clarity of mind, we realize like what we're here to focus on. What am I here to focus on? And that's really like the question that I see us walking into this month with. And this is so essential and important, right? Our attention is where our energy flows. It's literally where we're directing our life force at, our soul's energy at, whatever we're putting our attention towards. And oftentimes, when our attention is scattered, it's really hard to know what is our purpose? What's the right next step in our life? What should we be focused on? But there's this opportunity this month, especially if we really ground in remembering what's real, to get this clarity of focus of like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is how I plug in. This is what my soul is asking me to do next, to work on next, the projects, the relationships, the whatever it is, the starting of the new business or the, building an addition onto your house, whatever it is, there's a clarity piece that is on offer this month. And that clarity can really bring us so much. And, there's this piece where when we know what the one thing to focus on is, there's like a big sense of relief, right? And this is like an update I think we all need to hear, that we're not supposed to do all of the things. We think we are, right? We like really put that pressure on ourselves of like, I need to do all of the things. And if I don't do it, who is, But that pressure is always there. But we were actually never meant to do 10 things at once. It's not how we're designed. We are meant to do one thing at a time. And this is a moment-to-moment truth. This is a week-to-week, a month-to-month truth. And so there's this opportunity this month of getting clear on like, what's that one thing? What's the one thing? And the one thing might be clarity around like, okay, this month, this is what I'm supposed to focus on. But it might also be like this chapter of my life. Oh, right. This is what I'm being asked to do. But there's also clarity here in a moment to moment kind of way of like clear how to use your day, clear how to use the one wild and precious hour that you have. And I'm sure you can feel in your system that like there's such a release and relief around this, right? And, this has like been a long-term saying and way of living in things like AA, where you don't have to know 10 steps ahead. You just have to know the next right step. And it's this huge relief to like let go, because so often we take on all these responsibilities, even if only mentally. We think, oh, this is my responsibility to do. And we take on all these responsibilities for things we don't actually have the ability to respond to. Whether it's because we don't have the capacity in that moment, we physically cannot, there's distance, time, space, whatever it is. We do this constantly as we take on this sense of responsibilities to things where actually we don't have the ability to respond to, or we weren't even designed to respond to. And that causes so much pressure and tension inside of our system. Getting clear on the one thing, like that mental clarity of purpose, like the next thing that you're supposed to do that day, that week, this month, it is such a relief because you recognize that you can put all those other things down. And clarity of purpose is, this is what I need to do with my time and energy right now. That's like how that energy comes in. This is what I need to do with my time and energy right now. And this is what I don't need to do. And this like clarity around, I refuse to let my precious energy, this energy that is here to shape shift the world, to literally help this world transform and be a part of the great dreaming of this earth, I refuse to allow my precious energy to be fragmented into places where it's useless, co-opted, in places where it is being used in ways that I'm not choosing. And that's often what happens when our energy is getting fragmented, our attention is getting fragmented by things like social media, for example. Our energy is being used in ways that we are not choosing. And it's so much more powerful when we make choices of how we want to use our energy and our time, and we direct that all the way through like a channel, a river that moves all the way across the landscape. And this is just like part of the textures of being on Earth at this time, is we're like really learning about the power of our attention, the power of our energy, and how, by choosing what we want to focus on and allowing it to be simple of like, this is it, this is what I'm supposed to do, we bring so much more energy and potential in this world. And in fact, an interesting thing happens where we have this fear around, okay, well, if I only focus on this one thing, then I won't be present for these other things. And these things matter to me too. Or I feel, like really a lot of like pressure in my heart around showing up around this thing. If you give yourself permission to focus on the one thing, to have that clarity of mind and purpose, you end up having the strength to do more. It's magic. It's one of life's most magic qualities. You expand your capacity. You can show up in other ways. I think about rosemary as this very strong, upright plant. It's a woody plant. It's a perennial plant. It can survive winters, even pretty cold winters, considering it's a Mediterranean herb. And, there's this energy here of like the hardiness that comes through letting it be clear, the strength that comes through deciding what you want to spend your energy and your focus on. And we're not going to be doing this alone. There was also this deep sense coming through when I was sitting with this card and the energies of the month ahead of this sense of support coming in. And I love this story. There's a sort of a folk tale about rosemary. And in the tale, it talks about how rosemary once had white flowers. And Mother Mary, as she was leaving Egypt, took her cloak off, her beautiful blue cloak, and hung it over the rosemary bush. And when she hung it over the rosemary bush, then the flowers turned blue. And that's one of the stories around how rosemary flowers got the colors that they did. And also some people attribute that story to why rosemary is called the Rose of Mary. And so there's this feeling of this energy of like the divine feminine, this feminine energy that is at the center of our earth, that is here to support us, that is here to help us on this journey. But it's a little bit like that mother energy of like, it's time to get your shoes on. Like I can attest with my own child, it's time to get your shoes on. Okay. Like I'm going to give you the space to do it yourself. I'm going to be here with you. I'm going to help you if you ask for help, but I'm letting you know in no uncertain terms, it's time to put your shoes on because it's time for us to have work to do. Like we have work we got to do. So there's that energy to it, right? It's like loving and supportive, but firm, but you're being held here so you can get clear. And it really reminds me of like this ancestral piece, talking about how this card is called Ancestral Memory. And it has this beautiful woman that looks like Mother Mary on the front of the card, holding rosemary in her hands. And there's this sense or this feeling of, ancient memory being like actually remembering how our ancestors used their minds, how we were meant to use our minds, how our minds were meant to actually like work in tandem with our bodies. And I think so often right now, like we are in this time of this like overwhelm and this technological fog, and we get into these like frozen, dissociated states inside of our bodies. But actually, like our mind wasn't meant to be like at odds with our body. They're meant to be in concert with one another. And there's this memory that we can access, like this deep ancestral memory inside of ourselves of a time when the mind and the body were aligned. And there was like really beautiful flow states that happened from that. And so, that also feels like that's something that's on offer, of like allowing our mind and our body to be in alignment, like your body is saying, yes, this is what I want to move towards. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to focus my energy on. And your mind being like, gotcha. Let's focus. Let's hone in. Let's take that next step. Let's put our shoes on. And, there's like a journey aspect to this month with that. And I very specifically saw, like thinking about Mother Mary's cloak, like I specifically saw this image of like a cloak being laid over our shoulders. And this phrase, like, you are protected, traveler. And it really reminds me of this concept of pilgrimage and the idea that this month we get like a step closer in understanding the purpose of our pilgrimage through this life. I love throughout medieval Europe, pilgrimage was like a really big part of spiritual life. And part of this was because there was this belief that all of life was a pilgrimage, that, we put one foot in front of the other, and all along the way we're receiving, signs and messages and learnings. And this is all like a pilgrimage deeper into, our connection with God, our connection with the divine, our connection with source, our own wider selves. And there's this feeling this month of like, you're protected, pilgrim. Like, you are protected on this pilgrimage as you begin to understand, what it is that is the next step that you need to take, this next step on this pilgrimage that is your life. And in a very real way, you are making this pilgrimage deeper into understanding who you are and why you're here. And there is a feeling this month, right, of really accessing and remembering why you're here. Like, when we get those clarity of moments, when we have that clarity of perspective, when we know the next step, that's what we're touching in on. That's the path that we're walking, the path of remembering why we're here. So I invite you, if this is resonating for you this month, to think about working with rosemary, if that's a possibility for you. This is a very accessible herb. It's at most nurseries. It's in the grocery store. You can work with fresh rosemary, dried rosemary. There's so many ways to work with this plant. It's one of my favorite aromatic plants. And so you can burn little bits of rosemary if you have dried rosemary from the store. You can put a sprig of rosemary on your desk and just rub it into your hands and take a deep inhale whenever you need some clarity of thought. Diluted essential oil of rosemary is really nice on the temples or anointing your third eye, again, to open your mind, to connect back into your intention for this month. You can also make tea with rosemary, just pouring boiled water over those rosemary leaves or needles and letting it steep and sipping that. I really like making rosemary water, and so you can make a tea and let it cool, or you can just get a fresh bowl of water and stir rosemary into it, and it'll be like a little less fragrant than if you made the tea, but it's so fresh, it's so refreshing. You can take that sprig from the water and even thwack yourself, like to really enliven yourself, like get your circulation moving, get your mind clear. I feel like rosemary is so accessible. It's like that divine mother energy. Like, it's so accessible. It's so here. It's like, work with me. Like, please, I'm around here. I'm right here. And I really think like bringing just a little bit of ritual into your life, if you're feeling called, could really deepen that clarity. And as we step into this month, here's a question to help you get clear on what that thing is for you, like what that one thing is to focus on, what that next step is. And that question is, what is the thing that gives me energy? Not the thing I think I'm supposed to do, or that like I'm glad it's over when it's done, or any of that. It's like, what is something that gives you energy? This is the way that our souls communicate to us that something is for us. We have energy when we do it. And so it's really that simple. Ask yourself, what gives me energy? Start being an investigator. Notice, like, did this activity bring me energy, or did it deplete me of energy? And this is going to start to give you a compass. And the thing that you're supposed to do, like what you're being called to do right now, it will also give you energy. And that's the beautiful thing, right? Is it will give you energy to actually show up in an even wider way in this world, to take on more if you want to take on more, to venture deeper. This is how our soul communicates to us. So, ask yourself, what is the thing that if I did it right now, it would really give me energy? And there's a way to actually live our days like this. And, we're all human, and goodness knows, like, I'm not doing this every single day and every moment, but it's like always one of those things that I'm turning my attention towards, right? What would give me energy to do in this moment? And, when I was dealing with Lyme disease, this became such a strong message for me. It was so obvious and so clear that when I did the things I wanted to do, when I wanted to do them, I had energy. And the moment I stepped off that path, where I was like, oh, I should really return that email, or I have to do bookkeeping. It's the end of the month. I should do it now. My energy tanked. I wasn't able to get out of bed. I wasn't able to do anything. It was so clear and so obvious. And what I found is when I started taking that leap of really just doing, the thing that gave me energy in that moment, I had so much more energy. And somehow those things that I thought, oh, I'll never want to do those things, then they'll just never get done. There would be these pockets of windows, these times that came up where I actually wanted to do them. And so you are expanding your capacity here by choosing to do the thing that is bringing you energy. And when I talk about energy, I'm not talking about sort of like that, like caffeine energy drink kind of energy. I'm talking about the kind of energy you get from the same kind of foods that we put rosemary in, like potatoes, roast, that kind of energy. Enduring, long-lasting, settling, nourishing energy. And that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for the things that like hype us up and kind of get us slightly dysregulated because it's like so activating. We're looking for the things that feel like nourishing, longevity, hearty kind of energy. And that will make it very clear for you what it is that you are meant to use your precious attention, time, and focus for. So this month, let it be clear, because on a soul level, it already is. On a level of existence, it is already crystal clear. And so this month, we're just allowing that clarity to rise to the surface and letting it bring us energy, perspective, and purpose. Letting it bring us nourishment as we take this next step in our journeys. So I'm excited for us and what we're going to discover in this month ahead. If this reading resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Leave me a voice note over on my website, asiasuler.com/remember. And I will be back next week with a big announcement about something that I'm going to do in my life next, something that has become very clear for me in this month of like where my energy is supposed to go. So stay tuned for that. I'm excited to announce this shift and this change and invite you into the experience with me. And if you're enjoying these readings, if you're liking the podcast, leave a rating or review or a sprinkle of fairy dust stars wherever you listen, because it just means so much to me. And it very literally is like someone put a plate of rosemary potatoes in front of me. I love potatoes and I get to eat them and have so much energy and just feel so, so nourished. So if you have the space to do that, I would just love that so much and I would gobble it up. So until next time, see what comes this month. Be open to the clarity that's here. Notice what gives you energy. Know that this month is so much about what you're here to do and letting go of the distractions, letting go of what you're not here to do, and that clarity will be so invigorating. That clarity will help you take that next step in your life, and that clarity will help you remember the most important thing of all, why you're here.